The Chusky Boys!
This is Chad with Hemlock. What does a Chusky Boy looks like?
Chusky Boys, what's that?
Chusky Boys, not to be confused with Husky Boys.
The Chusky Boys.
Well, I believe y'all guys are listening to the Chusky Boys.
This is William Duvall, and you are listening to the Chusky Boys.
Chusky Boys, episode 14. Feels like episode 1400. No offense, JR.
None taken.
You're my boy. We got a couple folks on tonight. First off, TheSketchyGoat. You know her. She was on a couple episodes ago. She's part of our team. Karmann, say hello.
Howdy.
She's not Chusky, but we let her on because she's very good at what she does, including taking care of us and the graphics. And tonight, very special episode. This is a big one. I know I said that about every episode, but this is legitimately big. I am a self-proclaimed gigantoid Breaking Bad fan, and we have the one and only Marius Stan on tonight, who played Bogdan on Breaking Bad. You know him as the car wash owner with the eyebrows. So welcome, sir.
I'm happy to meet you online, all the way from Chicago.
Chicago in the house. We're in, JR and I are in South Dakota, and Karmann, she's down in Texas. So we're all over the map. We got a little bit of snow today. Are you guys getting some crazy weather down there too, or has it been pretty mild?
We got a couple of inches a few days ago, and now it's sunny and cold. It used to be. Now it's evening here, but we enjoy some clear skies.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the time being.
How long have you been in Chicago?
12 years.
12 years, okay.
Yes, I moved to Chicago in 2010, yes.
I know we'll get into the New Mexico stuff, obviously, with the Breaking Bad, but I didn't know how long you were in Chicago. So is it a complete, I mean, I used to live in Albuquerque. You were from that area too. You moved to a cold climate. Is it an absolute shock to your senses?
It did. Obviously, I didn't move for the weather. We decided to move, and I say this with my deepest love for the land of enchantment, which is New Mexico.
Sure.
We moved to Chicago to see people, to meet more people, to hopefully have a larger community. And that turned out to be a good decision. But I'm still fond of Santa Fe and Los Alamos and Albuquerque. And from time to time, I would go there and visit for various events.
So when you go down to New Mexico, Albuquerque area, you obviously probably get recognized, right?
I do get recognized over there, but also in Chicago, and also during my international trips. I have to tell you, in Osaka, Japan, in Paris, in London, people approach me. Many of them address me with the character's name. Hello, Bogdan. How are you, Bogdan? We liked your participation in the show, and I always comply. I enjoy taking pictures and doing. Recently, I've noticed that some of the fans of the show are once they see me, they look, they Google the series and the character, and they learn my name and come and say, "Hey, Mr. Stan," or "Hey, Dr. Stan, we love the show. We enjoyed your character." So what can I say? I really like that first and foremost, because apparently Bogdan Wolynetz is a virtual and, in some people's mind, almost a real person that they can refer to and ask questions and talk about.
Some of that, what's so crazy is with streaming platforms, and specifically in the United States, Netflix. And that is, I did not watch the show when it was originally running. And for whatever reason why, I have no idea, but it would always show up on when I was going through Netflix, and I started it and watched a couple episodes, and I was instantly hooked. And the ability that these are at the touch of your fingertips to start playing a show, something like Breaking Bad, which is world known based off of how some of your travels go, it sounds like, is just amazing. It's just amazing.
Indeed. One of the topics of discussions with people who approach me and have something to say about the show is the fact that it is not a show about drugs or about methamphetamine necessarily. There's plenty of that, of course. I would say it's a show about greed, how greed transforms people. Walter White, once he broke bad and started to make meth, he gained power and money, and that transformed him from a very nice high school chemistry teacher into a criminal person, a monster, if you want. So the evolution of that character and of other characters, I think, is the core, the strength of this TV series, which was, I would say, done using enormous resources, financial and outstanding talent.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny you bring that up too. So not to contradict you, because it goes along the same lines what you're talking about, but specifically in one of your scenes would have been season 5, probably. Or no, you were not. Was it season 3 and 4 and 1, right? 1, 3, and 4.
I was in almost every season, but the bulk of my contribution was in season 4 when the action moved to the car wash.
Yeah. So when Skylar, Anna Gunn, is negotiating with you, she calls you and she's not very, Walter's like, Bryan Cranston's like, you can't call him names. She's like, I didn't call him names to call them unpleasant. But, she wanted what is that, $80,000? I should look at my notes, $79,000 discount. And Walter's like, you know how much money I make in a day? It's kind of that scene compared to other ones. You were right. He was a monster. He's very greedy. He wanted everything he get, kept pushing Jesse to risk his life and come back and cook, but I found that kind of interesting, that episode particularly, where to him, he would have let $79,000 go because he makes that, I don't know, in a day or a weekend or an hour or however much $79,000. That's a huge amount of money to fathom even making in a day. But it's funny you brought that up. It kind of sparked some interest with that. So.
And credits to Bryan Cranston for being able over 5 seasons, right, to create the evolution, the progression of this character, the transformation,
going from the hair and the bright clothes,
everything. It takes a great actor to do that, and he did it very well, I would say.
And you take a step back further a little bit too, Dusty. Is you think in the other sitcom that he was part of was Malcolm in the Middle, the goofy dad, and to turn into Walter White, Heisinger. Some acting chops on that gentleman for sure.
Right.
I think that was also the beauty of the show and why it's still just absolutely incredible to even rewatch now. Both Bryan Cranston and even your character, Bogdan, you brought such depth to these people. They suddenly weren't one-dimensional characters that were written. They were actual people that you got to know. Well, it felt like you got to know over a certain amount of time. And just out of curiosity, was it difficult to bring life to that character, to your character in particular, or did it feel like a natural role for you?
Let me start by saying that I at the time I had absolutely no training in acting, and that was the first experience for me. So I just ran with whatever they gave me.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And the character attracted me. I thought it was complex enough. I imagine it as a man who was in a difficult situation, not really a bad individual, but had to do some unpleasant things and mistreat people and so on. It was the nature of his life. An immigrant who's trying to make his way in the society and respond to various constraints and external forces and so on. Again, to answer your question fully, I enjoyed playing that character and I did not find it difficult because perhaps, so I thought about that. Why was it? Not having any training might have been an advantage. Occasionally, especially actors who perform on stage, have difficulties playing characters in movies because in the movies there are different requirements regarding the way you speak, the way you move, even, I would say, a certain complexity of related to the fact that the camera is right in your face and they can see everything. While on a stage, you have some distance that helps occasionally. So the only quality that I have that makes me, if anything, a modest actor is the fact that I can say things and behave in front of the camera and the lights and the microphone with ease. I don't get that extraordinary stress that some people have. So we are having this nice conversation. We could have it on a set, but on a set, there would be microphones that they push down your shirt or blouse. There are lights that are right in your eyes. There are people all around. It's a different environment. And if one can stay and be relaxed and say the lines, and that for me was enough. And it turned out reasonably well, I would say.
Definitely. And I think that natural feeling that you have as an actor comes across, again, transforming a character who was written out into a three-dimensional person very well.
So Marius, the question I was getting by all my friends and our Chusky Boy fans out there, which is tens of thousands of them, wink, wink, they all wanted to know. So I think most folks knew that you weren't an actor by trade. They probably didn't know, which we'll get into here very shortly, your career path and what you've done throughout your whole entire life. But how did you get to be on Breaking Bad? You were on the pilot episode, about 9.5 minutes into the pilot episode. We first met Bogdan. How did that all come about?
No, at the time in 2008, we were, my family and I, we were in Los Alamos, New Mexico. There is an excellent research center there, Los Alamos National Laboratory. So Los Alamos is a couple of hours driving from Albuquerque. And we as a family, instigated by the children who were there in middle school and early high school, we said, let's go to audition and see how that experience may turn out. It was curiosity. So all four of us, my wife and the kids, went to Albuquerque and auditioned to be extras in the pilot of Breaking Bad. It was nothing we thought much about. We said, okay, we're going to go there. We're going to audition. Most likely they're not going to pick us. We're going to go home. But in fact, the four of us were selected to be extras in the pilot. In fact, my wife and the two kids are in that scene at the store where Walter's and Skylar's son was bullied by some teenagers and they had to intervene.
The clothing store?
Yes. So they were there going left and right, and you can see them in the pilot. And what happens is that for some reason, they didn't have the actor that was supposed to play Bogdan. I don't know what happened. I never asked. And Vince Gilligan looked at the extras, the pictures of the extras, and said, well, can we get one person here to just say one line? The one line I remember that vividly was, Walter, I need you outside to wipe down a car. That was the only line. And they looked, and it is possible. I don't know that Vince Gilligan called back and spoke with a number of people. Definitely, he thought that I would do a good job. We had a great discussion together. And when shooting the scene, I found in the script that they added more lines. Then they came to me and said, would you be comfortable with some cursing and some bad language and some stuff that you may not be used to? And we discussed that, and they said, okay, if it's for the good of the movie, we'll do it. And then after that, Vince Gilligan made sure that the character would come back in almost every season, I think, even for a few seconds. Sometimes there is a scene at the car wash, and you can see Bogdan talking with some customers in the back. And that was perhaps to keep the character in the mind of the viewers. And then in season 4, the action moved to the car wash, and there was a more consistent part with several scenes and so on. So if there is any, I would say, lesson learned from this, is that whoever wants to be in a movie must take the first step, which is going to an audition. You never know what they need. The movies are not made only with Brad Pitts and Angelina Jolie and other famous actors. All kind of characters are necessary, and sometimes it might be just you. So go there. I tell that everybody. You like movies, you want to be an actor, you want to play in a movie, go there and audition. There is a chance that's non-zero to be selected.
It's like winning the lottery. You can't win if you don't buy a ticket, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And it was kind of like winning the lottery. I mean, you were on, in my humble opinion, the very best TV show of all time, Breaking Bad. I watched it through and through. My wife laughs at me. She watched it the first time with me. The last 5 times I've watched it, she hasn't watched it with me. She just says, "You're obsessed." You've had some great screen time with Anna Gunn, Bryan Cranston, Bill Burr, who's absolutely huge right now. Any memories, anything that brings a smile to your face when you think back on those times with those folks?
Oh, yes. I fondly remember not only shooting the scenes with them, but maybe more than anything, having the discussions during the breaks. I had a chance to get a sense, a feel about their personalities and who are they as people. And I like to believe that we remain friends in the sense that communicate from time to time, Merry Christmas, things like that. I'm not going to say that I'm buddies with and go to parties with any of them, but I have a few memories that you might find amusing, and they relate to the type of advice that they gave me. So they figured out immediately, this guy is not an actor, he's a scientist, he doesn't know much about how to behave, what to do, but apparently he can hold his own.
He's just a doctor, that's it.
He just was okay, yeah. So they would give me various pieces of advice, which were quite interesting, and some of them extremely useful. For example, Bryan Cranston came to me and said, "Marius, you don't have to speak that loud. They have excellent microphones." That was an outstanding piece of advice, because not knowing and not having any experience with that, perhaps in the beginning, I had this drive to speak a bit louder than normally. But then I learned that whispering, in fact, is a very powerful tool in an actor's toolkit. And in one of the scenes in season 4, in 406, with Bryan Cranston in my office when he comes to take over the business, I'm supposed to patronize him and say, you should be tough. The boss has to be tough. And whispering improved, I think, the effect of those lines. And that I thank him for telling me that. Anna Gunn told me something different, which was also quite funny. We were shooting the scenes where she was making an offer for the car wash, and offered, as you said, hundreds of thousands. And I would say $20 million. And I know who you are, $20 million. I like, and as a good Romanian myself and the character, I would, this Latin Romance temper, I would use my hands and I would be quite, and she said, you shouldn't move that much, because if you move a lot, you will get out of the frame. So try to restrain your movements a little bit, which was, again, an excellent piece of advice. With Bill Burr, we we started telling jokes during the break. And he's a very funny guy and a very nice person. I have to say, I thoroughly enjoy talking with him. So we had a joke competition. He would say something very cool. I had my list of favorite jokes. So I think he cracked up a couple of times. It was a very good interaction. And then we will go into character. And the two characters were, of course, at odds. He was the IPA inspector. I was the very much upset owner. But these are fun memories. I really enjoy thinking of the time I spent with these people.
Yeah, when you say that, it was almost what's the word I'm looking for? When Skyler was in Bill Burr's, that what do you call those things? We used to wear them all the time, those little Bluetooth. I mean, they're like what we have now, but those little tiny. And he's like, I want to know what laws are broken right now. And he's like, and she's talking to him at the same time, referencing what laws you're breaking. She's got her big Rolodex or her binder open. And yeah, those are great scenes. I'm sure you'll never forget those. When a question I was wondering, so you did the pilot episode in 2008, it was filmed, I believe, and you came back. You didn't come back until 2010. Does that sound right? So about a year and a half, probably. Did you know you didn't come back?
Right. And by that time, by 2010, I was in Chicago. So the producers, Sony Television, they made all efforts to bring me from Chicago to Albuquerque. I would fly whenever necessary, spend a few days, stay in a hotel, shoot the scenes, go back to Chicago. And
by then, were you comfortable with it, or do you still get... I mean, I assume you were nervous for the pilot. Did you get nervous again? I mean, you've been away for 18 months, and Breaking Bad is freaking huge at this point. So, from the very beginning, let me share this with you. From the very beginning, from the pilot, from when we shot from the pilot, I got the sense that this is no ordinary TV series, that this is high quality stuff. And here's how. The amount of effort they were putting in every minute of filming was extraordinary. We will shoot for half a day, the whole morning, for 5 minutes in the episode. Does it drive you crazy doing that?
I thought I was impressed, and the directors, and I did work with outstanding directors, with Vince Gilligan, with Michelle McLaren, with David Slade, Michael Slovis. The directors will shoot every scene from various angles, and then selected the best view, the best lighting. Some of them were perfectionists, I would say. So I thought it turned out very well. I said, no, let's do it one more time because, I don't know, there was some shade on the right side. And seeing that, even without having much experience or no experience at all, I thought this is a work of art. This is something that is going to be seen as one of the best TV shows. And for that reason, I would spare no effort to continue and participate. Whenever they would call me, I would take some vacation days or I would take a leave from my research because I felt that I was part of something important, something of quality, of high quality, artistic quality.
Your coworkers and stuff, when you would have to leave and take vacation days, leave of absence or whatever to do your other job, how did they take that? Was that something that they were very supportive of? Was it kind of a nuisance, or were they just excited for you that they work with you day in and day out, yet, you're also doing this, once again, huge TV show?
So here's the funniest aspect of this, if you want, the most intriguing one, perhaps. And I still cannot explain what I did that, but I decided not to tell anybody at my research place at Argonne National Laboratory. And I would just go and say, I'll be out for a few days. I'll be back on Friday, and go out and be back on Friday. And I'm telling you, for more than a year, I would say very few people knew, but nobody in my circle of colleagues, of collaborators. And then as the episodes were being broadcasted more frequently, they will learn about this and see it. And what I loved absolutely was when one of my colleagues will stop by my door, knock, open the door and say, I cannot believe this. I was watching Breaking Bad and I said, oh, I know that guy. He works with me down the hallway.
Wait a second.
Are you the guy? I can't. And I waited for the credits and I read the credits and said, yeah, Marius, he's the one. He's the one. And the funniest perhaps was a colleague from Argentina who was on travel to Argentina with his family and said, Marius, we were watching as a family Breaking Bad and I saw you and they could not believe that I know you and we are colleagues. And so once they learned about my experience with the Breaking Bad, they were, I don't know, various reactions. Most of them, if all of them, supportive. Some of them thought it was a cool thing to do. I do not exclude that some of my colleagues might have thought that it was a waste of time for a scientist to do this. You could go to the lab and do more experiments.
Was there ever any pushback because of the methamphetamine things? I remember back in the day hearing about, methamphetamines on the rise now because of this show, which is completely ridiculous, obviously. Was there any kind of any naysayers for that stuff?
No, and it could be because I deflected questions about that and turned everything into how should I say, warm, light, amusing, humorous attitude. And my tactics was to, whenever somebody would ask, how about methamphetamine? Do you know how to do drugs? Do they, is the process of making methamphetamine in the movie correct or so on? And I would answer something like, no, the process, the cooking in the movie is spectacular, is close to what you need to do, but it's not correct for legal purposes. You don't want teenagers to watch Breaking Bad and learn how to make meth and say, oh, I've learned from Breaking Bad and so on.
When Bryan Cranston was on Howard Stern, they really talked about that a lot. Like Howard kept trying to get out of Bryan. Obviously it was never legitimate. Like I'm sure they tell you how to make meth on the set, right? And Bryan's like, well, I don't know, and he kind of danced around it, but obviously they didn't make meth on the set, right?
Oh, no, not at all. And I would end my explanation saying, but you know what? I have a PhD in chemistry. So if you really want to know how to make methamphetamine, let's talk after the meeting or after the show, and I can show you everything. And they realized I was joking. And so I did not suffer any consequences.
Oh, that's hilarious. It's great they have a great sense of humor about it as well.
So going back a little bit, so we talked quite a bit about Breaking Bad, but I mean, there's a whole other individual that we're speaking with right now. You're from Romania and coming over to the States. You want to go into a little detail about that and kind of how you became, the scientist that you are now.
Yes, it was again, I would say, a matter of chance, but also of being bold enough, of daring, and being passionate, in that case, about science. So I was in Romania around 1990s, 97, 95, immediately after the change of in the political system in Eastern Europe and in Romania in particular. And my wife and I, both scientists, both physicists, we were struggling with our research activities because you may imagine when a country goes through such a transformation, it was a revolution in many respects. The priorities change a little bit. What you need to do immediately after such a dramatic change has to do with infrastructure, with economy, with finances. Science goes down the list, sometimes to the second page or the third page. So we were looking, we are struggling with this idea. Are we going to stay in Romania, but maybe give up science and do something else? Many of our colleagues would open, a business, would do a startup or go into finances or into commerce or other things. Or are we going to stick with the science? But in that case, maybe we should look for an opportunity to work in a research center that can provide the right environment. So I was lucky that some of my publications came to the attention of a scientist at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And that person sent me an email and said, oh, by the way, we have a postdoctoral position here if you would be interested in applying. And here is the critical moment, as I said, when one has to make a decision. You may not believe this, but applying to that position required some costs that were really high for our standard at the time. Submitting the application, making copies of various documents, notarizing signatures, doing things like that. It was expensive for our situation at the time. And we were debating, my wife and I, does it make sense to go through this when the chances are so small? Going back to the lottery ticket. But maybe then, same as with going to the audition, we thought if I don't submit this application, I will never get a postdoctoral position. So the first thing one has to do is submit it. So we decided, I submitted the application, and I vividly remember when I got in the mailbox, the letter from Los Alamos saying, your application was accepted. We invite you to join for 2 years appointment and so on. So when we flew with children and everything to Albuquerque and from there to Los Alamos. So in my life, there were several moments when I had to balance the security and the comfort of the current situation with the risks of doing something unusual, be it professional or movie or in publishing a book and publishing poetry. Oh, you were saying if there was any type of comments regarding me being an actor, you should hear my colleagues when they discover that I published poetry and say, what kind of scientist are you? Poetry, this is Emily Dickinson 100 years ago. You don't write poetry. You're a physicist. You have a reputation. You have a stature in there. So again, going to Los Alamos was an outstanding experience. I spent 13 years there using computers to solve physics and chemistry problems, mostly designing, creating better materials for energy, for nuclear energy, for energy storage, for batteries, and so on. So I'm a computational scientist by profession, a physicist and a chemist by education, and a computational scientist by profession. Once moving to Argonne in 2010, as I said, I got interested more in using high-performance computing, very big machines, and artificial intelligence. There was a resurrection. The community was doing CPR to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not new. It started in 1950s with Alan Turing at the National Physics Laboratory in United Kingdom. If you've seen the movie The Imitation Game, about how that team of physicists helped decipher the encryption in the Germans' communication Enigma machine.
Just an amazing person Alan Turing is. I always get really happy when people bring up his work, especially because, as you know, he didn't quite get the recognition he deserved in his lifetime and was quite punished harshly. So I'm really glad you brought him up.
Indeed. His personal life was quite dramatic. He was an outcast for many because of his sexual orientation and suffered a lot until the end of his life in very cruel treatment. But there are good news. United Kingdom is restoring the image of Alan Turing as a scientist and as a human being. I've heard recently that they are planning on issuing a 50-pound bill with him on it. Picture. Yeah, that would be extraordinary. That would make me very happy.
The thanks he deserves, finally, or something. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's a very good point. We celebrated his legacy, and occasionally I would engage my postdocs, my students in a Turing test to see if they can pass it. But not to make this discussion too long. So most recently, artificial intelligence became the tool of choice for my pursuit still of creating better materials for energy and for society, for improving society.
Just a quick question on that as well, because your research is, like as I said before, absolutely extensive and amazing. But just kind of the origin of that, can you tell us about maybe how you first got introduced to extensive research with nuclear energy? Because it's just amazing the advances you've made, whether it's working for the Department of Energy Office of Nuclear Energy or the materials models and simulations for nuclear fuels. How did that become your specialty?
Indeed, it is not obvious or transparent how a physicist and a chemist who is not a nuclear engineer, I am not a nuclear engineer like many of my colleagues at Los Alamos and at Argonne, got to work and publish extensively several books and close to 100 journal articles and so on nuclear materials. And I would say that the reason is nuclear materials are very difficult, are challenging. And that attracted me. I thought I should attack a problem that very few people look at. And that's really difficult if you work with uranium or plutonium or thorium, or it's far more difficult because of their chemical and physical complexity than and more dangerous, right? Then doing work which is also important and critical for society on things like aluminum and copper and other things. So it became interesting to me because they are so challenging. They have a high atomic number, they have unusual properties. And then that made me somehow drove me or took me to a career path where I would engage with reactor experts and nuclear materials experts and bring to the table the computational tools and this perspective from physics and chemistry. So I guess that's the answer I can give right now. I don't have a full explanation. Sometimes life takes you in unexpected directions, but in my case, I think that was the trigger.
And I can only imagine. Of course, you were doing research in Romania before coming to the United States. Was the situation concerning nuclear energy different? Because I know latter half of European developments regarding nuclear energy were a bit different and new. And I was wondering if that affected your ability to do research when you came to the United States.
No, not at all. In fact, when I was in Romania, I was in a research center at the time. I was not working on nuclear materials at all. I was working on oxides and metals. And this scientist at Los Alamos, Daryl Butt, who spotted my paper, said, "Oh, maybe we can do these kind of calculations for some of the materials that we care about here." But since you mentioned the status of nuclear energy in various parts of the world, I would say that it is still an important component of our portfolio here in the United States, maybe 20-25%. Back in Romania, too, they have a different type of technology, and for some countries, it's even higher. I guess France has 75 to 80% of the energy coming from nuclear.
A lot more green resources, absolutely.
So fascinating, I would say, path. And again, I sometimes think about this trajectory and how much say I had in everything that happened. Was it up to me entirely? Was it up to me even for the most part or not? And I think it's a combination. I came to the conclusion that there are opportunities all the time, and one has to be bold and have the courage to take risks and go forward, but it cannot be predetermined or scheduled in detail. When I grew up in a small town close to Bucharest, I did not dream that I will do much of my professional career in the United States, or that I would have this conversation with you now. So one cannot plan everything in life.
That's amazing. And to just find the intersection between being a really incredible actor, part of one of the most notorious and iconic shows of ever, pretty much, and to be such an important scientist at the same time. It's just kind of a testament to that, of everything you can do without planning for it. Absolutely.
So Marius, earlier you talked about your first, they brought you in because Bogdan's, character, whatever happened to him, the actor rather, who's supposed to be Bogdan, and they talked to you about, are you comfortable with a couple, cussing, swear words or whatever it may be. When Walter, the famous line, and we try to stay family friendly, but we have a few hiccups here and there. But when Walter said, "Fuck you and your eyebrows," I think that's what he said. That was on national TV. And I remember seeing that. Was that one of the first times? Do you have any idea if the F-bomb got dropped on actual national TV? Because now it's all the time. It happens all the time now. But back in 2008 or 9, whenever that first came out, that was like big deal. You know what I mean? Do you have any recollection of hearing if that was one of the first times that's happened?
Right. I do remember, as I mentioned, it could be that the line was not even in the script originally.
Oh, yeah.
They added that to make that scene more impactful. But they did talk with me beforehand. They said, we're going to say this and that. Are you okay with that? Is there something? And I thought about it. And as I said, if it's for the good of the show, it's going to be fine. And then think about it. I didn't know that this is going to continue, this adventure. So I would say, okay, this is a one time. Instead of saying just Walter, come outside to wipe down the car, I have 2 more lines. One of them is cursing at me. That's okay. I'll go home, forget about the whole thing. It's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
It was indeed surprising to me. But again, I didn't know much about this. It could have been the norm. I don't know. At the time, I couldn't put it in a broader context to appreciate if that was something really new in this landscape of TV series and unusual.
How about when Breaking Bad finally ended? They had 5. I think they had actually, some people call it 6, but it's technically 5 seasons, right? The season 5, I believe it was. They split it in 2 different parts, and then it was done, and the world was sad, including me. Then they came out with Better Call Saul, which is a prequel to Breaking Bad. Was there any, and I don't know if we can talk about this or not, but was there any mention or talk with Vince Gilligan or Peter Gould or anyone with Sony Pictures to have Bogdan's character come back at all and to appear at all?
So here's what I know about that, and I can share this with you because it's kind of out there. I don't think the producers of Better Call Saul have decided yet which ones, if any, of the characters in Breaking Bad they plan to bring in for the very last couple of episodes or even the last one of Better Call Saul. If they want to create a bridge, make a connection and say, here is the last episode of Better Call Saul, and then you can jump and watch the pilot of Breaking Bad. So there is, it's an open issue. They might bring back Walter White, of course, or Skyler. It could be that Saul would drive by the car wash just to wash his car, and I would be there talking with him. I don't know for sure. As of today, nobody discussed any details, and there was no communication about that. Just statements that we don't know yet.
So if you are going to be on, let's talk business. Let's get on brass tacks. How much would you charge us to wear a Chusky Boys podcast sweatshirt? It'll put my kid through college, Marius.
I don't know. We'll reach common ground. No doubt about that.
Nothing's off the table yet. Nothing's off the table.
I have the same feeling like before I was married and I'd ask out the cutest girls, the same crushing feeling I had then I have right now. So I know it's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see. We'll see. Better Call Saul is a good TV series in itself, no doubt about that. And I don't know, maybe the producers will think of not only a prequel, but also a sequel of Breaking Bad. I don't know. These are all things that are being discussed in various communities. But yeah.
Even more now, you would think that that's a possibility with all the reboots and sequels. And
with El Camino coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's as popular as ever, I feel like.
It's safe to say that it's always a possibility, like you said.
Indeed. Funny thing about El Camino, Netflix, because now they took over from AMC, Netflix is broadcasting Breaking Bad. That's the platform as of today. And in preparation of launching El Camino, they created a number of PR video clips, 1 minute, 2 minute. And I was part of one of them. It was shot back in Romania. They flew me over there. I worked with a Romanian crew, and it's Bogdan handing the keys of this new car. Apparently, the car was brought all the way from Bucharest or something, and it was one of the commercials, if you want, for El Camino that was distributed mostly in Europe. And it was, again, a good opportunity to go back and remember those good times. And
they flew you from Chicago to Romania to do this 1 to 2 minute clip for the Netflix movie El Camino, but they never did use it.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you see, when you see things like that, the conclusion is these people would not spare any effort or money to create something good. It's not, yeah. So I'm confident that whatever decision will be made is going to turn out very well for the show.
Was it odd to go back to Romania to do something for Breaking Bad? Or have you been back there since you've been on the show?
I've been there. I usually go there every other year, if I can. My parents are still there, my family, my friends. So going back to Romania was something that I do enjoy doing. Shooting scenes on sets with Romanian directors and cinematographers and crews was a different experience, was new. I have to say, they have a different style. They organize themselves differently. But I did enjoy. It took us a whole day for those 2 minutes, because some scenes were on the highway, some at a car wash. It was a good experience.
Did you get a copy of it at all to reminisce about and watch later on?
Yes. There is I think it's on YouTube.
Oh, really?
There is on YouTube. If you want, I'll send you a link. It's
that'd be great.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I got another very serious question for you. Do you know the actor Eugene Levy from Schitt's Creek?
No.
Don't know him? Okay.
I do not.
You would know him if you've seen him. You would know him. Okay.
Oh, okay.
He's got eyebrows similar to yours.
Okay. So maybe because I've never heard his name being pronounced, I just read his name. So he's a Canadian actor, right?
He is, yeah. His son is in Schitt's Creek with him. Yeah.
Right.
Great program. So I'm just going to ask you, I'm going to get down right to it. Who has the better eyebrows, you or Eugene Levy?
Oh, definitely I do. And I have proof. If you look, if you do a search on Facebook, there is a Facebook group titled Bogdan's Eyebrows. I mean, nothing beats that. For me, it's proof that these are the most famous eyebrows in the community. So
they probably have more followers than the Chusky Boys have.
That settles it. That right there. That is the answer we were looking for and the expectation that we were looking for. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right here. Yep, there it is.
I can't say I took to Facebook looking for stuff about your eyebrows. I'm not gonna lie. Okay.
I'm surprised I didn't. I'm embarrassed that I didn't.
As the probably the most hardcore fan out of the three of us, at least, Dusty, for you not to pull that up, I'd say that is disappointing. That is absolutely disappointing.
So this illustrates one of the aspects of the type of life I'm living. I do not recommend this to anybody, not even to my children, to anybody. I'm pursuing various interests, and I like to do, hopefully, something of quality in all these areas and all these directions. I'm not going to get to be an Olympic champion, gold medalist with this attitude. Definitely. Just speaking about the Winter Olympics or so. So I realized that various aspects of my work, professional and personal and artistic, and have different impacts on society. And sometimes it's hard to accept, and maybe seems a little bit unjust, that, for example, my work as a scientist is valued by, I don't know, a few hundred people. I hope, based on citations, maybe 1,000 people or 2,000 who read my publications, and some of them speak highly of that. You look at Breaking Bad, the total of 20 minutes I played in Breaking Bad brought me somehow through this character into the homes of perhaps millions of people. And they enjoyed it. So I'm not going to say that the impact of the movie activities was higher, was different than the one of the scientific work. And it seems to me that for many scientists, for example, it appears to be unfair. How is it possible that a movie star, not myself, famous movie stars are paid millions of dollars and everybody knows them, and we work so hard? And it's not only scientists and doctors and writers and authors, and how come that we don't get the same recognition? And I would say that perhaps the scientists should do more to connect with the general population, with the community. If you want to be appreciated by millions of people, then you have to get out there and talk about science and how is that useful, and make it more understandable and approachable by the community. If we stay in our labs and do experiments and publish papers, the results will never get to be appreciated by so many people.
So you're 61 years young now. What do you? How long do you envision doing what you're doing now, staying in the scientific world?
I would say to some degree, I will continue to do all these three, but the ratio, I mean, the balance may change. For example, as of today, the largest time slot in my workday is dedicated to writing. I'm writing a novel and a number of short stories. And I wake up in the morning and I keep writing, and there is hours and hours. The science part has diminished a little bit. The cinema acting is not present at all right now, but it will be. I'm scheduled to be in another TV series a few months from now. But I hope to be able to continue this for many years to come. Of course, at some point, I'll be too old to be a meaningful scientist, who knows. I might not be as appealing as an actor when I go 80 years old or 90, although there are actors who are outstanding at a very advanced age. And as of I would say that my biggest hopes are now in the writing component. I hope this novel, you will buy it at Barnes & Noble, and maybe at the airports, you will find it on those stands at the airport and say, oh, this is written by that guy who was an actor in Breaking Bad. And hopefully you'll like it.
Just a quick question. I did want to ask about that. You said you published poetry, and which I think is really riveting, especially when you publish a collection of poetry, how intimate that can be, sharing a part of yourself with the world in kind of a different way than acting and research. And I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit real quick on that, on what publishing your works is like.
I did publish both books, the one on short stories and the one on poetry in Romania, publishing houses in Romania. And the reason was that when I started writing in a more consistent way, it felt easier. It felt I was feeling more comfortable writing in Romanian. And somehow I feel that I accomplished my purpose, which was to have a book of prose, short stories, and one of poetry in Romanian. And I said what I had to say. And now I'm writing in English a novel, directly in English, after 24 years in the United States, 25 years soon to be. I feel that I do have a good command of the English language, especially in writing. In speaking, I know I have an accent which is charming to some, not that charming to others. But so I enjoy very much writing. It's fiction. It's a book of fiction, very different from the scientific books and journal articles that I've written in the past. Although there are some influences from my scientific work. You will see. I promise that as it gets published, I will send a copy to each of you, and without the requirement to necessarily read it, just to have it for your collection.
to my favorite Chusky Boys, Marius.
Yeah, okay, wait, so.
We certainly will. And from the sounds of it, I just want to comment, you sound like the definition of a Renaissance man. I mean, between acting and writing and scientific research, I mean, maybe you play an instrument. I don't know. I think you have pretty much everything. That's amazing.
Thank you. I thank you very much. That's really overwhelming, what you just said. I'm going to remind my statement that I do not recommend this to other people. But yeah, I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
The fact that it happened so naturally, I think, is really a testament to that, though. No one set out to do that in particular.
Karmann, I'm glad you're on too, because you're the smart person. JR and I are just the comic relief / handsome devils. We put the Chusky and Chusky Boys, and you're the brains. You two folks are the brains. So that's great stuff. So tell us, we talked about everything except for the soccer, Marius. Are you a player? Are you a fan? Are you a watcher? Where are you at with that?
So I've been playing soccer since I was a child, and I was not a professional soccer, although I did play in some second league in Romania, because at the time there was a requirement that each team had to have a player under 18 years old. So when I was in high school, I was one of the 3 guys who would serve that purpose, being on the field, because there was a requirement to have somebody under 18, which was a good thing, in fact, because that would promote younger players and help them participate in competitions. But the passion for soccer stood with me over time. At Los Alamos, when we had a soccer team, an international soccer team called Los Alamos United. So I like to play in the midfield. I kept playing until the COVID situation imposed some restrictions. We cannot organize games that easily.
Yeah.
But it's my form of exercising. I enjoy that. I meet people. We move the the ball from here to there. The speed, the skills are still there. The speed of my game has decreased significantly, but the joy of being with my colleagues is still there. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. So do you follow any other sports like American football or basketball or baseball, anything like that? Nothing much?
Let me, since this is an open heart discussion, I'm going to expose myself completely here. Since coming to United States, I've learned to like American football. And I'm following NFL. I look forward to see how it ends this year. Quite interesting. The teams that qualified for the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and
the Rams and the Bengals. We always do a guest pick every week, and if you don't mind, who do you like, the Rams or the Bengals?
Yeah, I would go with the Rams for some reason. As a Chicago guy, I do feel bad that our team is not up there necessarily. But, good. Okay, good.
Because you are the smartest guy I know. You must be a Bears fan, obviously, right? You're not going to be a Cowboys fan. You must be a Bears fan.
No, let me confess, as I said, in the spirit of revealing secrets, that I'm still puzzled by baseball. I've been to baseball games with friends, did not find a way of warming up towards baseball, I have to say. I enjoy the company, the discussions and everything. It could be that I didn't grow up with baseball. I don't know the rules very well.
Yeah.
And it makes it harder to.
It's a pastime. You know, there's a lot of things about baseball that the average fan wouldn't know. You know what I mean? JR, I love baseball. JR's really big into baseball. His Atlanta Braves won the World Series this year, but there's a lot of traditions. There's a lot of things with baseball that the broadcasters won't talk about as much. And to be honest with you, there's 162 baseball games, which is 54 series, 27 home, 27 away. Unless you watch all the games, which is very difficult to do. Football now it's 17. Traditionally, there's 16 games. You hear a lot of different things. The broadcasters, they know what to say. They have key points to hit on. Baseball is just way more laid back, but it is a lot of fun. So do you go to any Cubs or White Sox, or are you?
Yeah, I went with my friends. I've seen some of the games. As I said, not my necessarily favorite one. I would put American football on top, baseball maybe on the fourth place, and then somewhere in the middle, basketball and hockey. Chicago is home to the Chicago Bulls and to the Blackhawks. So those I like to watch them.
It's a great sports town you live in there. Do you live right in town then?
Yes, we live right downtown. You know, moving from New Mexico, as I mentioned, was driven by many aspects: collaborations at positions at universities, research, but also by the desire to live in a big city, to see how is it to be in the city. Mm-hmm. And in line with that, we got a condo right downtown Chicago, close to Millennium Park, to the Art Institute and so on. So we live downtown with the good and the bad of living downtown in a city of 9 million people, right?
You probably do a lot of walking versus driving, I assume.
Indeed.
The transit in that city is just remarkable.
Indeed. Public transportation, the L. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, beautiful downtown area. And I'm hopeful that once COVID goes away, we will go back to having the blues festival, the jazz festival, the art shows, and everything that makes this city so special.
I actually have some friends who are playing some jazz shows more recently. They're going to play the Stable, and I think somewhere else in Evanston, Illinois. But they're all pretty much scattered. And when they talk about the feeling of jazz, especially in Chicago, it just sounds so. It's really romantic because it's such a loud and musical city. It's really special.
One other random question I got written down. what is the craziest thing that a Breaking Bad fan has done, if anything, like out in the public, like airports, or if you're walking down the street? Do you have anyone who, maybe in the evening after a few drinks or anything like that? That's
usually individuals, mostly young people, approach me and say, "Oh, hey, Bogdan," or as I said, they look me up and say, "Oh, Mr. Stan or Dr. Stan, come, we recognize you. May we take a picture? We love the show, this and that, this and." Sometimes they come in a group, like 2 or 3, again, students or college students, or come. And the craziest thing was that I was in a restaurant with my wife. An adult, I would say a senior person, maybe not a mature person, somebody in their 50s, 40s, 50s, a man, approached us and said the following: "Mr. Stan, I recognize you. I am told that you are an actor." The moment he said, "I am told," I thought, what is this about? Breaking Bad, I didn't see Breaking Bad at all. But my children are big fans and would like to take a picture with you. Sorry to bother you at dinner time, but they were too shy to ask you. So I said, "Okay, then that's okay. Let's take a picture." And I stood up and he waved to his family. And I'm not exaggerating. Maybe 7 or 8 people came from their tables, the kids and the wife and the uncle, and they had a family reunion. And they noticed me, and the children said, "We want to take a picture, but we don't want to go there. Dad, can you go and ask?" So I think that was an unexpected development, with the whole family coming to take a picture with us, and the dad being the one who had the guts to interrupt our dinner and ask. And we took the picture and had a very nice chat. And that was.
Does your wife get a kick out of that then?
She's a very nice woman. And a testimony of that is that she often takes the pictures. So people will come, "Bogdan, may I take a picture with you?" And then they turn to her, "Ma'am, can you please take a picture?" And she says, "Okay, sure, of course."
She must have a lot of patience over the years. I'm sure you guys, being in a gigantic city, I think the 3rd biggest city in America, I'm sure you get a lot of attention. So
yeah,
I'm sure it's taxing at times, but I can tell you as a big Breaking Bad fan, we all really appreciate your services and what you did for the show, because it was absolutely first-rate acting. So we appreciate it.
And thank you for your research and nuclear energy as well.
Yeah, one-up me on that one. Go ahead, Karmann. That's fine. That's fine.
Right there.
Thanks for that too.
Well, I was looking over some stuff before the podcast, and it's just really jarring, the extent of what you do. So thank you for everything that you can do in one lifetime, especially.
Thank you for these nice, these kind words. I really, really appreciate them. Let me extend the invitation that I previously extended to the people interested in methamphetamine when I said, "Oh, if you need to make meth, I have a PhD in chemistry, so let me know." So to you, and because of your interest in nuclear energy, if something happens to your nuclear reactor in your backyard, don't hesitate to call me and I'll show up and help you fix it. It's an area that I know very well.
I was wondering what to do with all the graphite rods, so I'm good.
Okay.
Well, there you go, folks. We're not going to teach you how to make meth, but if your nuclear reactor goes bad, reach out to the Chusky Boys. We'll reach out to Marius and we'll get back to you, okay? We might take a small stipend out of that to pay for these Zoom bills, but we'll get you connected either way.
Is there anything else that we learned so much about you. Everybody knew about Breaking Bad, more than likely knew about Breaking Bad, but we talked about so much other stuff. And then, Renaissance man, like Karmann mentioned, and the books that you're writing, the show, of course, that you've been in, and the fact that you're a doctor and a scientist. Is there anything else that you want to let our fans know about, or is there something else that we're missing? Oh, don't forget about soccer. Definitely a soccer player as well. Anything else that you want to share?
Enough about me. I would like to say something about again, the impact of art and science on society. These are times when I would encourage everybody to trust science, but also in everything they do, not only COVID and other things, in everything they do, trust the scientists and the doctors. And then my second thought for everybody would be, in spite of all the restrictions and everything that came upon us recently, go out and see a movie, go out to a show, to a play, to a concert. We need art, and the artists need us. They cannot survive without us participating, being in the audience. I was recently at a concert here in Chicago, and it was such a joy to see the performance, but also to hear the leader of that band saying, "We thank you so much for being here with us. We needed you. We desperately needed you." So get out if you can. If you feel safe enough, get out to the movies, to the concerts, to the shows, to the games, soccer and baseball and whatever. These are my final thoughts. Again, I'm so appreciative and thankful that I have the opportunity to say these things to the audience of your podcast. So thank you.
We appreciate you taking the time, Marius. I know you got a lot going on, but we really appreciate your time tonight, and we'll definitely get this message out to everyone, all of our listeners.
We cannot stress enough. Thank you for spending over an hour with us. We certainly appreciate it.
It was a pleasure for me to enjoy talking with you, and I hope that our paths will cross again. Who knows? Life is full of pleasant surprises, as I said.
You never know. I look forward to that novel as well.
Very good. Yeah. Have a great weekend, evening, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you,
sir.
Thank
you so much.
You too. Thank you so much.
Great, fantastic interview. Dusty, I don't know, man. You're just like and I know we got a couple other things still cooking that are.
We got some big ones coming up. I never like to give it out, but we got some big folks. I'm not talking like Chusky big. I'm talking like famous big.
That famous big. So, anyways, we're just right. We like to keep.
Haven't we had any Chusky people on here yet? By the way,
everybody has the lifestyle changes and stuff like that, right?
We've had some people that were Chusky.
Bob Harris.
Hey, there Chad you go. Smith, Hemlock.
Yep. Here we are, just kind of maintaining our Chusky status. What can I say?
Yeah, I'm not selling out. I ain't selling out. Heart health? Nah.
Hey, so let's just recap real quick. I know this is running long, guys, with that interview. It's fantastic. So back to Steve Areno. We never did talk about his bets. He did a couple bets with us. I think he ended up going, I want to say 4-2. 4-2 between his prop bets with Stafford, Jimmy G on TDs and yards and Debo. And then, of course, he did go with his 49ers, who ended up losing, kind of a heartbreaker there. So, but Steve Areno, thank you. Now, Dusty, me and you, I just want to give you a heads up, bro. We're tied. We're tied 5-5 for the playoffs.
How are we going to do this as a tiebreaker then? What are we going to do?
We're going to do the Super Bowl. We're going to do some prop bets and stuff like that. We're going to make this happen. Bets. Okay.
I got some good prop bets.
We're dead tied. And I want you to remember, Dusty, I started the playoffs 0-4 and I mounted.
Why can't I bring up old shit, man? Why can't I bring up that old stuff?
I'm bringing up facts, brass tacks, baby. Anyways. So we got one more time. We have one more chance of football betting.
One game and we're tied. This is like going into the 9th inning, bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. This is it. So I'm gonna offer you something. I'm gonna let you either take either or spread, and whatever you don't take, I'll take. Okay, so you have the spread 4.5, right? Over unders 48.5. I'm gonna let you choose first because I'm a nice guy. And then I'm going to take, so if you want the spread, pick your team, and I'll do either the over under. If you want either the over under, I'll do the spread because I know I got them both locked in.
Yeah,
chances are you don't have either. No offense. No offense.
Plus 4.5, baby. Bengals.
You can do plus 4.5 Bengals.
That's right. Jamar Chase.
Lock Chusky JR in plus 4.5 Bengals. Not a bad.
Hey, don't call it a comeback. You know what I'm saying? I'm not coming back from the basement of 0-4 to beat you 6-5 and to hold on to my $20 is just going to pay the Zoom bill.
If I lose, I ain't paying anyways.
I knew that. I knew that.
Lock me in the over 48.5. My friend Scott here shaking his head, but I'm going to do over 48.5. That's 7 touchdowns. I feel like the second half of this game is going to be high flying, high scoring. As long as they can hit 15, 17 points in the first half, they're going to cover that over, no problem. What I'm going to do, I'm gonna try to bet one last big hoorah on this. I'm gonna tease the Rams in the over. So I'm gonna tease it Rams plus 1.5 and the over 42.5. That's if anyone's listening, they say, man, I wish I knew what them Chusky Boys are gonna bet so I can lose a lot of money and possibly my house and maybe my legs.
To have a 50% chance of being right or wrong. So
that's my bet.
If we hit the over and the Bengals win or the Bengals cover, we're still tied. Then
all right.
What? What's our tiebreaker?
Oh, we could do some crazy Super Bowl prop bets that are always fun. I got a couple of them lined up here, so I was gonna I say all three of us. I got 3 good bets here. I say all 3 of us take a stab at it. I'm gonna ask Karmann first. All right.
All right.
Karmann, I think this is a good one for you. Sketchy Goat. National anthem. Right now, BetMGM we usually use BetMGM for our Super Bowl bets. I don't see where they have these bets, so I had to go out to another provider, which we won't name. So these folks have the national anthem, which they have not announced as of this writing, as of this podcast, who is going to sing it. But last year was 2 minutes and 16 seconds. This year, the over-under that we're using is 2 minutes and 4 seconds. So the question is, the national anthem for the Super Bowl is going to be over or under 2 minutes and 4 seconds?
I'm going to go with over. Someone might want to sauce it up. So
that's a good bet.
Someone is going to sauce it up. It's just who. Is it going to be 3 minutes? You know what I mean? They're going to really hit that.
Not 4.
Hold that note.
JR. This is for you. Gatorade shower. The famous Super Bowl prop bet is the color of the Gatorade shower. Okay.
Yep.
So do you have cool blue or fierce grape?
Cool blue.
Cool blue.
Cool blue.
We'll be looking for that one.
Lock it in.
Lock JR in his cool blue. I like it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So this is going to be our tiebreaker too, Dusty. So what's the bet you got for yourself, huh, buddy?
Well, Snoop Doggy Dogg, who is performing at the halftime show, which, by the way, like the famous memes going around, we're gonna figure out who is who when that halftime show comes up. You're gonna learn stuff about your family and your friends when those guys come up. I can't wait for it. I think it's gonna be awesome. But will Snoop Dogg smoke marijuana on stage at the Super Bowl halftime show? I think it's obvious he does. Lock me in as a yes.
Wow. After the whole Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake thing, I think they've really kind of toned it down a bit.
It doesn't count if he already goes on stage high, right? That's
a given. That's a given. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. So that lock us in.
All right, that's it. Dusty, we're locked in. Karmann, as always, a pleasure when you jump on with us. Great questions. Yeah, you really put it to shame of how smart or not smart me and Dusty are. But it was an absolute pleasure to have you jump on again and the continued work that you do for the Chusky Boys. You're definitely part of the crew, no doubt about it. And don't forget, Jerry Cantrell show. Sounds like you're going to go to one. Hopefully we'll all meet up in Denver and check that out. But otherwise, Dusty, Karmann, anything else to add on episode 14 with the Marius Stan?
Not from me. Thanks so much, Karmann. Thanks so much to our special guest, Marius. He was awesome to have on, such a class act. And he's going to send us some of those novels autographed to the Chusky Boys.
We're wrapping it up. Episode 14 in the books. It's a long one. It's worth it. Always keep it Chusky. Dusty, if you ain't chubby
and you're not husky,
then what the hell are you, Karmann?
I think you're Chusky.
You goddamn right, you're
must
Chusky.
be Chusky.
Hell yeah. Episode 14 in the books.
Peace.